Hello, it's Julie from Spellbound again, and welcome to the fourth part of our small series about how to make a bouquet necklace. Now, in the first part we built the wire mesh support for our collage that's going to go at the front of the necklace. In the second part I showed you how to make the sunflowers, and I've made a selection in the large, the medium and the small size. Now each one has got a pearl attached to the back ready to stitch onto the mesh. There's a 6mm pearl in the large and the medium, and the 4mm pearl is at the back of the small sunflower. Now I might need to make some more sunflowers, I'm not sure yet, it depends on how well this covers the background. I've also made some berries. Now I showed you how to do these in the last clip, and we've got 6 little sets here, some with 3 berries, some with 2 berries. Again, I might need to make a few individual berries or perhaps another sprig or 2. We'll see when we come to do our mock-up of the arrangement. I've also got some larger beads in leaf shapes and flower shapes that tone in with the colours I've already used. Now what these are going to give is points of saturated colour throughout the design. They'll help the design to flow through and stop it looking too confusing if you've got just lots and lots and lots of seed beads all together. All you can see sometimes is the seed beads and not the theme that we're looking for. So these will help to draw the eye and concentrate the design. Right, now we're going to start by doing a dry run of our design. We're going to start with a background layer, and then a second layer, and then a third layer, and then a fourth layer. Now the background layer is going to actually be the sunflowers. These are going to go on first. So I need to do a brief sort of, am I happy with this arrangement of the sunflowers? Now you'll notice I put a pin on the background here. Now this tells me that this is the side that the flowers are going to attach to. Doesn't matter whether you mark the front or the back, as long as you mark one side and you remember what you've done. Mainly because this side is the side that's going to be against the skin. So this is the side with no little ends of wire showing at all. On this side that's going to be covered with beadwork, there's no wires, end wires showing particularly, but this is the side where potentially there might be more showing, and this is where I've finished off my thread ends that's held everything together. So that's the neat side. That's the side that we're going to conceal. So this is actually the front of the background. Now I'm going to start by laying in the bigger flowers first, I think. Now everything's still attached to a thread, so I need to just keep the threads out of the way a little bit so that I can see what's happening. I think it's not too bad. That's distributed the larger ones. I've got 2 red ones closer together than anything else, but they've got different colour centres, so I'm not worried about that. When I finish the design, ideally I want to cover the whole thing, including the loops, so when we add on the rope the connection is concealed, but the big flowers are a bit big for right at the end, so I'm happy with that as my first go. Now let's add in a few of the medium ones, and I've got 2 red there, so let's have a red down here. I've got 2 green centres together there, so we'll have a little think about that. Might move that a longer bit. Let's have that one in there. I'm going to drop that red one down a little bit. Bring this one up on top a bit. Yeah, I think I'm going to move that to there and that to there. Just having a little play around, see how it works. That's quite heavy this side, so let's move. That's a bit better. I know the threads are confusing, but let's try and work with it. Just move them out to the side. Right, let's pop in some more of these small ones. I think the green is quite important to get that evenly distributed. A little bit of purple there. Let's get a red up here, and we've got a pink one there, so perhaps a pink one there, and that's the same outside as that but different. I've got quite a lot of yellow here, so I think what I'm going to do is swap that one for that one. Still quite a bit of yellow, so let's pop that back. Think about... Oh, I think that's okay actually. So have this conversation with yourself all the time. There's quite a good distribution there of colour and of texture, and we're starting to make quite a bit of progress covering the wire. Now let's have a look at... Oops, this is where we get into a problem with the threads. We need the threads to sew everything on, but they do have a tendency to get tangled, so let's just pop them back approximately where they were. That's it. Now we've got berries to go on. Let's have a little look at where we might put the berries. Now the berries are loose, so they could hang down below the level of the bottom edge, and I think we'll do that with potentially those ones there, and let's have some further up here, and perhaps in here. Let's have some more purple, because we've got two purple, one purple, one purple. Let's have another purple up here. You can see it's just a matter of basically playing around until you've got an arrangement that you like. Now, I like to move those to there and have like a line of them coming down. Now you can see that's the next layer. That's looking okay. Now the ends of these stems will actually be tucked in behind the flowers when we stitch them on, so don't worry about seeing those. It's just the overall coverage and balance of colour we're looking at now. Okay, now let's do something about bringing in some of these beads. Now I've got some long, these are actually lucite beads, and I think those might be quite useful, sort of tucked in, to give some little bits of stability to the palette. Let's have a look at, I don't like that one there, let's move it, that's better. So we've got some of those in. Right, now we've got flowers and leaves. These are lucite again. I've paired them up with little glass lily beads. They're quite lovely little beads, these. come in lots of different colours, and we need to decide whereabouts they're going to go. I don't necessarily need to use them all. And you see, I like this purple because it picks up on the berries, and orange is one of my favourite colours. So let's have a look at I think that's okay, although it does look a bit tidy, doesn't it, doing a line like that. So let's perhaps take that one out, and I've got some smaller ones. Perhaps that one in there and that one in there. I can move some other little trumpets in. And then to finish off, I've got some little leaves. Now, although I'm going to put them in now, I'll probably have to decide on their final placing when I've got everything else on. Now, I quite like the idea of the leaves going in little groups rather than individually. So let's have a little play. Putting 2 in there. And perhaps 2 in here. And yeah, the odd 1 or 2 in there. It's just trying to balance the colours and get yourself the basics of an arrangement that you really like. I think that, although it's quite difficult to see with the threads, is pretty much where I want it to be. Now I might decide when I'm stitching them on that I'll put on less, I'll put on more, I might want to make some more of the sunflowers, I might want to remove a couple of the lucite flowers. I'll see how it goes as I start to stitch on, because once you start to remove the threads, it's much easier to see where you are. Now obviously I've got to disassemble this to start assembling it, so I would suggest you take a series of photographs. Now I've printed mine out so that you can see what I've done, but I would suggest you just take them on your tablet or your phone, and then you can look at them to the side of your work. Now if I find, there we go. So that is my top version. It's not exactly the same, it's one I did previously. So there's a photograph of the top layer with everything still intact. I'm now going to take off the big lucite flowers, and I would suggest at that point you take another photograph. So let me show you the next layer down, which in that case is that as a photograph. You can see you've still got the leaves on and the berries and the flowers. So take a photograph like that. So berries, leaves still on. Let's take off the leaves. Try not to disturb things too much. Take another photograph, and so this is the photograph I did of a previous incarnation. See, I've just got the berries and the flowers on, and then I'll take off the berries. Obviously you can do your stage photos the other way around. You can take the photos before you put the next layer on, but I actually think it's quite useful to do it by peeling the layers back, because then you've got everything just how you wanted it. And so that's back to just the flowers, and let's have a little look through. There's my image of just the flowers. So I'm going to work to this picture first to do my first little bit of assembly. Let's just take all of these off again. And we're going to put them on one at a time. And I would suggest you put on 2 or 3 and then you cut the threads. You don't want to just snip all the threads immediately, because otherwise you can't make any adjustments. So we're back to our background, and I've got my photograph here of the arrangement I did previously that I was quite happy with. I can see I've got a red and gold flower just off centre at the bottom. I've got the large pink flower about there, and I've got the large green flower about there. So I've got one a little bit higher than the other and that one just there. And those are the first 3 I will put on. I'm going to start with this one. No particular reason, but I'm going to start with that one, and there we are. And let's see, I'm going to compare to my photograph. It's just here, you can see here that curve there is this curve here. So I'm now in approximately the right place. So I'm going to look at this flower, look at that and think, right, that's where I want to put it on. And I can take that pin out now because I know that's the side I want to stitch to. And I'm just going to stitch directly into the mesh and through the pearl bead at the back. Take a slightly different path through the mesh, but parallel to the previous stitch, and back through the pearl bead. Pull it nice and firm, and that's really quite secure. I'm happy with the position of that for now. I'm going to take the thread off the needle and we'll move on to this one. There's lots of threading and rethreading, but you can use, if you're struggling with a beading needle for this, you can use a slightly bigger needle as long as it will go through the pearl, because all we're doing is stitching into this fabric and through the pearl. Right, let's have a look. This green one is, well, it's level on this, but I think I'm going to drop it a little bit, but it's about the same distance from the centre. So let's go to there, so it's slightly lower, and I'm going to stitch it here. That looks about right. A parallel stitch. Apart. Pull the thread nice and tight. That's it, and you can see no stitches going through to the back, so it's keeping it nice and neat. And we've got this one, I don't want it right in the middle, I want it slightly to one side, back there. You see how easy it is to stitch onto this mesh. That's because we doubled it up and then redoubled and then stretched it, so we've really made it into very compact and strong fabric in a way, which is really able to support quite a lot of bead weight, which is what we're after for this design. Right, let's have a little look at that. I'm happy with that. I'm going to look at my photograph. Those are the 3 I've already put on. And let's have a look. You should have a pink, a yellow, a purple and a green. So let's just see if they still approximately fit. It's not going to be exact, but I'd like to get the distribution about right. Let's have a look at the photograph. Let's have a look at, yeah, that's pretty good. So I'm happy that these will fit in where I intended. So I'm going to go back and finish off the threads on these, and then I can trim them up. And I would suggest that's how you do it. You do perhaps 2 or 3, check that the next layer is going to work with it, and then go back and finish them off. Now at the moment they're a little bit wibbly wobbly, so I'm going to take another stitch through the pearl, and I'm going to move on to this one, which is the first one I did. I want it to be really secure, so I've taken a couple of stitches through the pearl, and now I'm going to come up and catch through, right through the middle of the flower. Well, not through the very centre, but through the centre of the flower, this sort of disc we made. I'm going to come up through the side of that, and I've come out between 2 beads, and then I can go back between 2 beads a little bit further along, just 1 bead's width. So I catch the threads between those beads, and then I'll take a stitch through, and then I'll do the same on another position. And so I'm actually attaching the flower itself. You see, I can come out of there, so if I go down there, I'm going to catch that thread. That's feeling much firmer. Now I've come out through the back of here. So I just take a small stitch. It won't be seen. Take a stitch that way. That's why we've put that pearl at the back, really, because even though we've taken stitches through the centre of the flower, we've still got that lovely dome, but it's been preserved by the pearl bead. So I don't want to finish off the thread on the back where it'll be seen. I'm going to finish it off here. And finish off with a double stitch. It's firm, and then I'm going to zoom through the layers of the wire to the edge before I trim it. So this is the equivalent of finishing off a beading thread, where you'd go through a few beads before you trim. And there I've concealed the end actually inside the wire. Right, so I'm going to secure these 2 flowers, and then I'll move on and put the ones in between, and I'll move on and completely add the rest of the sunflowers. Then I'll be back to you and show you adding the berries. So I've got all my flowers on, and well, at least all my sunflowers on. As you can see, I've got a few gaps, a few more gaps than I expected, so I might have to make a couple more sunflower bead flowers, but I'm not unduly upset at the moment. I think it's looking quite good, and I've already started to put on the berries just to check that they would fit into the gaps I've left. Now I've got 5 more bunches of berries that I think will work in with what I've already done. So I want to show you how I am going to attach the berries. Now I'm going to pop in this one first, I think, and I want this one to break the bottom edge of the work so that we've got this dangling effect. So I've taken off the keeper bead and I'm left with 2 ends of thread. One is where the keeper bead was attached, the second one is where the thread came back up to the keeper bead after it had made all the berries. Now I've trimmed them to the same length, and I'm going to just offer that up. Now I want to attach just behind this leaf here, so I think I've got enough seed beads above that last berry to make it work. If I wanted to add some more I could do, or if I wanted to take a few off equally I could do that. Now I want to get both of these ends through the eye of the needle at the same time if I can. There we go. You can do them individually, but if you can get them both through at the same time, all the better. It's half the work. And now I'm just going to tease this open so that I can get in and take a good double stitch through the mesh at that point. Just check it's right, that's okay. And another stitch. Because we're using 2 threads, obviously I want to be careful how they pull through. Because there's lots for them to catch on. And I need to make sure that the stitch is pulled up, so let's just pull that up. There we go. Let's have a little look. Yeah, that breaks that edge quite nicely there, so that's okay. I'm quite happy with that. Now to make it more secure, I'm going to come back down the main stem and I'm going to make a stitch at the top of the purple berry. As if I've got all 3 berries just dangling in mid-air. They're going to be swinging all over the place, so I just want to restrict the movement a little bit. So there's a stitch at the position where the berry stem, so the one that comes off the main stem, where the berry stem meets the main stem. Let's have a little look at that. That's better. But I think, let's have a look at how those sit. I think it'd be even better if we could just secure that little bit of stem there, that little bit in there towards the purple berry. So I'm going to go through 2 beads down towards the purple berry, and of course my needle's come unthreaded because it always does when you have nearly finished, and take a stitch through. I'm going to take it right through because I haven't got a huge amount of thread left. Yeah, that's better. Let's go through to the front again. And I'm going to take the needle back up through the beads I've just been through, up to the top. Just because I know that at the top I can finish off the thread neatly without it showing, and it also reinforces everything I've already done. When you get to this stage, you can start to feel that the wire that's holding everything together, this base that we've made, is starting to stiffen a little bit, and that's because of all the stitches I've already taken through the surface. And of course I'm joining all the layers of thread together, layers of wire together every time I make a stitch. So it's becoming quite substantial, so it will take all this weight, but fortunately it maintains its flexibility, so it's nice to wear. Let's have a little look. Oh yes, so 2 lots of berries on now. So I think I'm going to have one to go in there, and again I want that to break the edge of the line, so perhaps not quite that long, but around about like that. This one I think will go in there, and I've got a short one for up there. Now, I might need another one there. I've got one. There we go. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. I'm going to join those in, and I'll be back to you to show you how to add the next layer. So as you can see, we're definitely getting there. I've added in the berries now, and I've got a little bit of movement, and I've broken this bottom line quite successfully with those. So what we're trying to do is hide the fact that there's this skeleton of wire underneath. So by breaking the edge with the petals and with the berries, we're starting to disguise that really quite well. Now, I put on most of the berries. I left out one bunch because I think it might go there, but I'm not sure. I'm going to leave that to the next video when I show you how to add the top layer of block colour. So it's the lucite flowers, the little lilies, and the leaves if we need them. I'm not sure quite how it's going to go yet. That's the fun of the process. And then to follow that, there'll be a final video to show you how to do the strap and add the clasp. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon.